I'm Aaron from TempoMusicCards.com. In this lesson we're going to look at how to play your very first open chord. This lesson is intended for people just starting out learning guitar. Before you start, I recommend watching the lesson on how to hold the guitar. It's really important that you hold the guitar correctly before trying to play chords. I'll start out explaining how to read a chord diagram, then move on to playing a chord, then finish up by explaining all the problems you may face and how to overcome them. Okay, let's get started. The first chord we'll look at is called E minor. If you have the Essential Chords pack, take the E minor card out and sit it in front of you. This contains all the information you need on how to play the chord. If you don't have the pack, you can get it from the website, but you'll still be able to learn from this video without it. In the center of the card, you'll see what looks like a grid of 6 vertical and a few horizontal lines. This is called a chord diagram and is the standard way of displaying guitar chords. The 6 vertical lines represent the 6 strings on the guitar, and the horizontal lines represent the frets across the neck. The best way to think of the diagram is that it's a snapshot of the neck where you will place your hand. In this picture you can see that the 6 vertical lines match up to the strings, and the horizontal lines match up to the frets. The double horizontal line at the top of the diagram represents the nut at the top of the fretboard. Don't worry if this doesn't make sense yet. After we walk through playing the chord, it will. If you look at the chord diagram, you'll see 2 blue dots with white numbers. These dots are instructions on where to place your fingers. The white numbers 2 and 3 tells us to use our second and third fingers. When playing guitar, each finger is numbered to make it easier to read sheet music. The first finger is our index finger, second is our middle finger, third the ring finger, and fourth the pinky. So with E minor, we'll be using our middle and ring fingers, 2 and 3. If you look at the top of the 6 vertical lines, you'll see 4 circles, or O's. Every time you see an O above a string, it is telling us to play that string open. An open string is when you pick the string without any fingers down on the frets, like this. So in this chord, we play the first, second, third and 6th strings open. Always count the string number from right to left on the diagram. Later on when you learn the string names, you won't need to do this. I recommend reading the chords lesson on the website because it gives a simple 10-step process to playing any chord. Now to play E minor, take your thumb and rest it behind the center of the neck, pointing up. Make sure it doesn't reach over the top like this. You can see that the blue dot with the number 2 is in the space between the 1st and 2nd fret on the 5th string, so that's exactly where we place our finger. So reach your hand around and place your second finger, the middle finger, on the 2nd fret of the 5th string. You can see my fingers on the 1, 2, 2nd fret on the 5th string. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You want to try and get your finger as close to the fret as possible without touching it. Now take your third finger and place it on the 2nd fret of the 4th string. You can see that this finger will sit right behind the 2nd finger. Don't worry if you need to move your 2nd finger over a bit to fit both fingers in place. Just try and have both fingers as close to the frets as possible. Once you think you have your hand in the right position, you can try strumming the chord. As this chord uses all 6 strings, strum all of them like this. Hopefully all 6 strings will ring out. Don't worry if they don't. You can test to see if each note rings out by picking each string separately. Start with the thickest string, the 6th string, and pick each one while listening to see if they all ring out. If they all ring out like that, your hand is in the right position. If on the other hand, when you test the strings, you get something like this, that one note that sounded muted needs fixing. This is a great way to find any problems you may not notice when strumming all the strings together. See, the problem really isn't obvious when you strum them together, but it is when you pick it separately. To fix a problem, go to the string that isn't ringing out and look at your hand to see if any fingers are touching strings they shouldn't. When I look at my hand, I can see my 3rd finger is touching the 4th string and causing the muted note. Now I know what the problem is, I can adjust my hand so my finger's not in the way, and test the strings again. The 10-step process on the website goes into more detail on this. There are three main problems you may face when playing open chords. The first is, like I explained before, when your fingers touch other strings that they shouldn't. This is very common with beginners, so don't get frustrated when it happens. Just get in the habit of holding the neck the correct way and to use your fingertips when fretting notes. If you don't use your fingertips but use the pads of your fingers, you'll almost definitely touch other strings. So really try to use your fingertips and to keep your thumb in the center of the neck. The second most common problem is when a fretted note doesn't ring out like this. There are a few reasons why this might happen. First is that you may have your finger too far away from the fret like this. So try and keep your finger as close to the fret as possible. The next reason is that you may be touching the fret too much or even have your finger over the fret like this. If you can feel the fret under your finger, just slide your hand a little bit to the left and it should fix the problem. The third reason is that you may not be pushing your fingers down hard enough for the note to ring out. This is very common with beginners who play steel string acoustics. It'll take a while for your finger strength to increase, so don't get frustrated if you feel like it's too hard to push down on the fret. Do some finger exercises as shown in other lessons and your finger strength will increase. The third most common problem is when your hand may touch the higher strings like this. Now this problem isn't as common as the other two, but it does happen. It's caused by the thumb not being placed on the correct position on the neck. You can see that if I have my thumb reaching over the top, there's pretty much no gap between my fingers and the fretboard. As soon as I bring my thumb down, the gap widens until I have plenty of room. Make sure that the only two places you're touching the neck is with your thumb and your fingertips, not the palm of your hand. As you can see, there's a lot of things you need to keep in mind even when playing simple chords. Just remember that it all comes down to practice. Keep trying and you will get there. I recommend watching this lesson again later on as a reminder to the problems you should watch out for. Check out the lesson on the website as it goes into detail on the 10 steps I recommend to playing chords. And while you're there, grab yourself the Essential Chords pack because it's going to make your life so much easier learning chords.